Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the importance of cooking and healing, and the importance of these two things, cooking when it comes to healing. As you all know, there are plenty of diets, diet protocols, bulletproof this and that, keto this and that, paleo this and that, right? But I want to have a real conversation here about, okay, how do we take all of this heady info about diet and actually put it into this applicable process when it comes to our health and healing. Okay. So oftentimes we get in this headspace of this diet or this histamine or that, you know, allergen, whatever, right? And so we get trapped in our head, and this takes us away from a big part of a big aspect of healing that's missing, which is, okay, how do you take these foods and then transform them via cooking into these bioavailable nutrients, into this nutrient dense meal that actually supports your health? Most people can't cook, okay, or don't know the basics about cooking. If you're like, hey, that's me, that's okay. We just have to understand the importance here of healing and cooking, and the diets, the fad diets, the diet protocols, the bulletproof things, the trendy and convenience foods, they're all, I should say, all those are based on, at the heart of it, they're all convenience. There's a big convenience thread here, meaning, okay, keto, you go into a store, this thing says keto, you can just grab it, boom, pick it up, it's like filled with 50 grams of fat. You eat it and you think you're doing amazing for keto. You pick this thing up, it says paleo on it, you take it back, it's made with like avocado oils and like beef jerky or something, and you're like, oh, I'm doing a great job, I've got this paleo thing. Now, not that you can't have convenience when it comes to your food or your life or your diet and etc., right? I don't want to say that everything has to be hard work and this huge process and this, like, 24-hour thing that, that's not what I'm saying at all. Because there are some meals you can cook in 15 to 30 minutes and it's super nourishing. That is possible. For some people, 15 to 30 minutes is far too long to wait for food or to cook food. This is one of the issues. We want shit fast. Nobody wants to put in the time to cook or prepare food or to learn how to do so. Or should I say, hardly anybody wants to learn this. And notice I said, nobody wants to put in the time. Everybody has time. We all have time. We just have to decide how we want to spend it, what we want to do with it. We have to make certain things a priority. And, we need to make cooking at least the basics. You don't have to be a freaking 5-star chef in order to be a healthy human being. That's not at all what I'm saying, but we have to know some basics, which I'm going to talk about on this episode here today, about cooking when it comes to supporting our health. Because honestly, it's easy. It's much easier to go along with the mainstream way. It's convenient. They have everything set up for you. You don't have to use your brain to think very much. They do everything for you. You don't have to figure too much of anything out. You've got Google Maps, you've got voice translation, you've got ads coming your way on your Instagram reels or wherever you're at with, buy this thing. It's literally, they have programmed you to have to, now live your life. It takes very little effort. And so that's a trap. That's an absolute trap. And so as most of my generation knows very little about cooking. The one before that, even some, like my parents. I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky that they knew a lot about cooking, that their parents cooked and they watched them cook and they cooked with them. And then that was passed on to me and my siblings, all of which know how to cook and love cooking. And we're a very food focused family. That's very rare today. Okay. And so they've literally trained us out of this life skill. cooking. You know, they've made it convenient for us to eat food in a way that doesn't marry health with convenience. Now, not that that can't happen in some aspects, as I mentioned, it can, but we're inundated with fast, convenient now mentality, and this also revolves around our food and how we've been trained to think about food and eating in our meals. It's like, oh, that's such a drag, like it's so much time to prepare this food, and it's like it's a drag because that's how you've been trained to think about food. Okay, so for the past 13 plus years, I've been helping people heal with food, creating diet programs and plans, and creating food plans, and creating food grade supplement plans, and creating special diets for certain disease conditions. And I can honestly say without a doubt, when I reflect on all those clients over the past decade plus, that the people who either go in knowing how to cook, go in saying, I'm going to learn how to cook, or go in and maybe their spouse knows how to cook, or they can hire someone to help them cook nourishing meals. These are the most successful people when it comes to cashing in on the healing benefits of food. Today, wasn't always the case, and I found this out the hard way. Today, if someone comes to me and wants a diet plan, but they can't cook, or they don't want to learn how to cook, or they don't want to, or they're unable to hire help, at this point in my practice, I will not work with them. It's not because I'm an asshole, but I won't work with them because this literally is a block to healing. Not putting in the time, effort to cook, to learn how to cook, and or to help hire somebody to help you out. If you cannot cook, if you cannot have nourishing foods available to you, if you only rely on something like Postmate or DoorDash or your microwave, you're missing out on a big aspect of your health. This is a block to healing. This is like a hole. This is like a leak. It's like a major leak in your health and healing. And you know, a restaurant, Postmate, DoorDash, whatever the F, Uber Eats, what this crap that they've all come up with, you know, it cannot fill this gap. Now, I want to be honest and clear about something, because my wife actually taught me this. You actually don't have to know how to cook, or your client, you know, if you're a holistic health practitioner, your client doesn't actually have to know how to cook, but okay, you or they should know what good standard health practice is when it comes to cooking. Okay, like for example, cooking your food in a Teflon pan, or cooking your food in an air fryer, which is like this radiation tank, are not good ideas. A radiation is a mock of a microwave, but it's considered a healthy way. It just sucks all the water molecules out of the food. These are not health supportive practices. My wife doesn't cook. I should say she rarely cooks. She loves cooking her breakfast. You know, she actually is really into that. But for the most part, no, she doesn't cook because her parents never cooked, and her parents didn't cook. This is typical. This is a typical trend. This is how cooking goes extinct. My parents were some sort of American anomaly, as they literally cooked daily. My mom cooked every meal for us, and my dad hunted meat for our family and raised livestock for our family to eat throughout the year. And this is something most people didn't grow up with in first world countries. And that's not to be like, oh, privileged or anything like that. It's literally because this isn't the typical way of first world countries. But my point here is that someone in your family, or someone you live with, or someone that you hire has to be able to cook healthy food. If you don't want to do that, you have to have somebody in your life with that skill who's willing to cook for you in order to, you know, to support your path to healing, to health and healing. Now, before I met my wife, I may not have said that, because I'm like, hey, you need to know some, but now she actually has some insight. Hey, yeah, don't use a Teflon pan, you know, don't, you know, cook with these healthy fats, you know, even though I do 99% of the cooking, she still has an awareness of, hey, what are good, healthy cooking practices. So during today's episode, I'm going to go into detail here with regard to why it's important to know the basics about cooking when it comes to supporting your health. As I mentioned, you don't have to be a 5-star chef or know like what wine or mocktail pairs best with your meal. You don't have to know that shit. It's not important to your health. You don't have to know how to make a roux or how to demi-glaze your stock pot. But when it comes to supporting your health, you do need to know the basics of cooking. Okay? And not knowing the basics of cooking is a block to healing. Okay, so I'm going to hopefully during this episode help you start honing your cooking skills more, and I'll get into why this is an important aspect of health. I'm going to break it down into basically my top 5 ways as to why cooking is such an invaluable health and healing tool. But before I dive into the episode, I have a really exciting announcement. Yesterday, actually 2 days ago, I launched my 5-week program, the Ancestral Health Certification course, that teaches you how to create individualized healing plans using food and sunlight primarily for your clients. Now, you don't have to be a healthcare professional already to take the course, but once you complete the course, you will be an ancestral health practitioner, and you'll be able to start or enhance your private holistic healthcare practice. I've been wanting to launch this program, I'm not kidding you, for the past several years, and you have all been asking me for this program for just as long. So, good news. Registration is now open, and you can read more about the program and register over at my site, heatharshepard.com. At the top of the menu, you'll see Ancestral Health Certification. There's a tab there for it. Click on the tab. You can read more about the program. Okay. Now, just to give you a few quick details, this is a self-paced course. The very first round of students at this time will have the added bonus benefit of being able to join the course live via Zoom. So when I post the modules, you can join live. This first round of students will have the opportunity to do that. But all the content will be recorded via video and audio, so students can learn at their own leisure, at their own pace, okay? Now, here's a bonus. Because cooking is such a huge part of health and healing, which I'm going to dive into during this episode, I have decided to include several bonus modules on how to cook certain foods, including multiple different cuts and types of meat. The most common question I get asked is, how do I cook meat? I love meat. I know it's healthy for me, but how do I cook it? We're going to go over that. I'm going to teach you how to cook seasonal veggies and other mineral and nutrient-rich foods. So registration for the course is open now until November 1st, and you can register over at my site. Now, if you need a different payment plan than offered on my site, don't be shy. Send an email my way, and we can find a plan that makes this work for you. I am very much open to that. So let's see, where shall we start here? Let's dive into the episode. And really, I want you to be able to enhance your health, enhance your own healing process. And if you're currently a holistic health practitioner, I want you to be able to offer that huge gift to your clients as well by understanding some basics about cooking and food. Okay. And I know many of my listeners here are health practitioners or aspiring health practitioners, and I can tell you from my over a decade experience, I know I mentioned this, but I really want to emphasize that the clients I've had who are willing to cook and put in a little effort when it comes to their meals and food have much better healing outcomes than those who refuse to pursue this. Yes, of course, I'm not saying that sunlight isn't important in homeopathy. Of course, we have to consider the holographic approach, right? Food is part of that holographic approach. And so I'm taking, we're going to focus on food today during this episode. And the fact is, you don't want to learn to cook, you can't cook, it's a block to healing. I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons here. I'm going to go over this, why cooking is such an invaluable health and healing tool. And I will, of course, also talk about at the end why it's not the only part of healing. Number 1, nutrient optimization. Now, knowing how to cook will help you to optimize the nutrient value of your food. So when you eat that food, you absorb, you assimilate, you obtain the most nutrients from your food. Now, let's be honest. You can be a chef and destroy the nutrient content of your foods. You can, know how to cook this and that and be fancy and have 5-star Michelin, whatever, these kind of, you can do that. But here's the thing. You have to understand food and ingredients and the nutritional value of certain foods to obtain nutrients from your foods. It sounds simple, but making mayo from sunflower or safflower or canola oil just adds heaps of inflammation to your body, destroys your hormones. Frying food in vegetable oil, using wheat instead of knowing how to sourdough, boiling veggies in under-salted water, all of these practices will significantly deplete nutrients from your food and ultimately from your body. And so what that results in is an undernourished person. So knowing how to cook healthily is key to getting the most bang for your buck when it comes to nutrient availability from your food. I want to give you a few examples here. Most people are coming to understand the horseshit lies behind beef and other land animals being a huge source of we can't call it global warming anymore, okay? It's global climate change, right? Wherever that, I'm not even going to go there, but what I will say about that is that we're coming to understand the lies behind animal products being bad for heart health and cholesterol levels and bad for the planet. Cholesterol is this made up measurement made by the US government and medical system, one and the same, right? As a control mechanism to keep people. We hear about this more and more today. It's like the government and medical system, they create this nonsense things like high cholesterol. And then they give you a number to focus on to take your attention away from the shit you should really be focusing on. Nobody should be focusing on cholesterol. The only thing that should be focusing on with regard to cholesterol is how you can eat more and get more into your diet. That should be the focus, not how can I eat less, how can I lower my cholesterol. Cholesterol is a made up measurement made by the US government medical system to divert your attention away from really being healthy to something that actually makes your health worse. People with the lowest cholesterol values are among the sickest people in the population. Their hormone panels destroyed, okay? I talk about this in detail in the Ancestral Health certification course. But the point here is more and more people are coming to understand the health benefits and great need to have healthy meat, healthy fish, healthy animal protein in the diet. Healthy meaning, it's not raised on a farm, on a factory farm. Okay. But not many people know how to cook meat or fish in a way that tastes good or that preserve the nutrients in the food. For example, I had a student of mine from Canada attend my in-person homeopathic retreat this summer. We were cooking meat every night for dinner. Of course, I was attempting to cook the meat medium rare. And she said, Heather, I've never really had meat cooked medium rare. Is this okay? Because it's illegal in Canada. For the love of dear Christ, are you kidding me? I heard that and I was like, wait, what? Like, it's illegal to serve medium rare meat or rare in restaurants in Canada. What in the God's F, right? This is so wrong in so many ways. Governments all over the world are trying to literally mess with our health from every direction they can conjure up. Eating certain cuts of meats, cooked minimally, rare to medium rare, is a very health supportive practice. So if you, for example, and I'll talk about some of the nutrient benefits of eating certain cuts of meat, rare to medium rare. But let's say, for example, you're like, oh my gosh, the carnivore diet is it. This is my jam. This is what's going to get me to where I want to be. This is my panacea. And you cook the absolute shit out of your meat. That actually tips the scale. That can have, I don't want to say negative. There can be some negative health effects. I'm just going to say it. There can be some negative health effects of cooking meat that's supposed to be cooked rare to medium rare, and you just cook your burger till it's tougher than like a freaking rope. And you know, we need to understand this. We need to understand this going into our diet practices, right? So let's talk just for a minute the benefits of rare to medium rare meat, because for one, steak is a food that should be undercooked. So steaks cooked medium rare, and I'm talking mostly about beef steaks. Now we can add lamb to this. You don't want to undercook your pork. I don't think we should necessarily need to cook good quality pork to the amount that the US government, requires or considers safe. But, for the most part, I'm talking about beef, I'm talking about lamb, I'm talking about bison, maybe some wild game, right? So steak cooked medium rare or rare makes it preserves the nutrients. It makes them more bioavailable. B vitamins, some of the fatty acids stay more intact. And it also makes the meat more digestible when it gets down to your digestive tract. Everyone's like, oh, you're constipated or you have digestive issues because you eat too much meat. Well, sure, we can overdo it, especially people who just go balls to the wall with carnivore and they overdo it. They tip the scale on the meat spectrum, right? But, typically, meat, we're told if you eat too much meat causes colon cancer. Oh, says who? Maybe if you cook the absolute living bejesus out of your meat and then eat it and it's tough and all the nutrients and the bioavailable nutrients are gone, sure, we could maybe make a case like that. But it's really important to understand that we've been trained again, just trained over and over and over again with all this stuff I'm talking about here today. Everything I talk about on my podcast is like, we've been trained, and now we have to be retrained. Okay. Steak cooked rare to medium rare is good for you. It's healthier. The nutrients are more bioavailable. Your digestive system is going to be able to utilize, absorb, assimilate, break down all the nutrients and proteins and fats in that steak, in that food, much more efficiently and effectively. Okay. Now, of course, you can make cooked and tender meat digestible as well by cooking it in bone broth for a long period of time, right? But so it depends on the cut of the meat. This is why we have to understand, okay, go carnivore, but having an understanding of how to cook certain cuts of meat to obtain the most nutrients from them. This is a big part of healing that most people, they don't talk about because they don't know. People, the dietitians in that world, some of them do. Okay. I'm not saying that nobody knows anything. Okay. Right. But the point here is that some cuts of meat are meant to be cooked minimally from a nutrient standpoint and a bioavailability standpoint. You hear people talking all the time about raw food diets and vegan diets for cancer patients. That's outdated, but also there is some truth to that. And cancer actually is a condition, is a disease that I cover in the ancestral health certification course to teach you how to create a specified diet plan for such individuals. And raw food actually is an emphasis in when it comes to helping people who have cancer actually create a healing diet plan. However, it's not what you likely think. Maybe some of you are aware of this, but the raw food is more so in the form of animal products. So knowing some basics here about certain cuts and forms of meat and how to cook them to obtain the full nutrient Monty can be incredibly helpful when it comes to supporting one's health, or when you're creating a diet plan for somebody. And knowing this and adding this into their diet plan is a freaking game changer. Okay, especially if someone's trying to recover from a chronic disease state. Everybody says, oh, food doesn't matter, it's only this percent. Food matters. And we've lost the skill on how to cook food, and also how to cook certain cuts of meats, how to obtain the most nutrients from our foods, from our meats, etc. And this can be absolute gold when it comes to health, healing, and helping somebody overcome a chronic disease state using food as one of the pathways to healing. So, we can think of a carnivore or a keto diet. This is the last thing I'll say about this point. But most people on those diets don't fully know how to cook the meat, or prepare the meat or food in a way that optimizes the nutrients in that food. Literally, people will just go to a fast food place or a restaurant and say, give me, this amount of burgers, or this and that, and this steak, or, we're missing this is a step that's missing and much needed in the food healing world. Okay. Number 2, let's talk about food diversity. Most people get very caught up in a diet trend, in a way of eating. We get obsessive. We get obsessive about specific ways of eating. Or we have this concept, this idea that certain foods are good, and we should strictly focus on those foods. Let's just hold the phone for a minute. Part of health includes food diversity. I'm sorry, all you strict dieters. Nature naturally provides us with this food diversity throughout its seasons, and shifting sunlight availability throughout the seasons. I want to ask you a question. I'm sure you actually know the answer to this, but this is something to consider. Why do most people fail when it comes to sticking with a diet? They fail because it's too strict, it lacks diversity, and it lacks a diversity in flavor. There are over 10,000 taste buds on your tongue, okay? You think this is just like some made up thing that's like, oh, it's just arbitrary? When we only eat a certain set of foods, some of those taste buds don't actually get fed or activated, just like the bacteria in your gut microbiome. If we only eat a certain set of foods, then we're going to have our gut microbiome, the bacteria there, is going to be limited to that certain food set that you're eating. If you only eat a certain, let's say you have 5 foods, or I only eat X, Y, and Z. If you do that, if you never see sunlight, your gut microbiome becomes deficient and basic, simplified. Another reason this happens is because when we eat the same foods over and over again, we fail to feed and activate the full gamut of taste buds on our tongue. What this does is it trains your taste buds to only be keen to a few foods, and over time, this creates deficiency states throughout your entire body. My sister-in-law, she eats like 4 foods, and she's obviously older, and you can see the health impacts in people who only eat a certain set of foods. Your taste buds, your gut microbiome. Look at the taste buds right here, right between the gut-brain axis. When we don't feed our bodies, our gut microbiome, our taste buds, this diversity of food throughout the year, throughout the seasons, over time, this creates deficiency states throughout your entire body. You guys know the kids who only eat mac and cheese, or they only eat toast, or they only eat hot dogs, or like there's like one food and the kid only eats this. Now, of course, kids are going to be picky about certain foods, but if we don't teach our kids about food diversity from a young age, and if they only see us eating pickles and, peanut butter sandwiches, then they learn, they learn from observation, and they're naturally going to develop multiple food aversions as they age as well. And what does this result in? It's not like just a minor thing. This results in a deficient diet, a deficient gut microbiome, and a simple diet, which ultimately is not a health supportive practice. So, okay, for all you balls to the wall fad dieters out there, I used to be one, so I'm not, pointing any fingers, but we have to understand and know and come to a point that diversity, food diversity, isn't just a fun thing to explore. It's actually very health supportive. And this is why I don't like people to stay on hardcore diets such as the carnivore or keto diet for long periods of time. It's eventually going to create a deficiency state. Number 3, quality. Okay, knowing how to cook with quality ingredients and understanding how to preserve the quality of the food and nutrients in your food while cooking, huge. It's huge. It's a game changer. Okay, these are the words of the episode, huge and game changer. Why do I love cooking? Why do I love smoking meats? Because I love the flavor. But here's the thing, smoking meat cooks the meat at a very low temperature, preserving the nutrients and flavors. The flavors intensify in the meat and thereby preserve the quality of the meat that I'm cooking, that I'm smoking. Most people are like, oh, smoked meats cause cancer. Who in the F says? Because that's how people cooked meats for years and years and years and years. And they had no issues with cancer. Here's the thing, this is a whole nother skill set. If you don't know how to make a fire correctly to smoke your meats and you just dump lighter fluid on it, I mean, everyone's gonna get cancer. Like, okay, so how about cooking and smoking meats with fire that is made naturally, not by dumping chemical charcoal and lighter fluid on it, right? It's like, but people don't think of this. They see a study that says, oh, the meats are smoked and it's bad for you. Nope. Hold the phone. Here we go. They've trained us. Another key word here for the another theme of the episode here. They've trained us to think that. That was an aside because obviously I'm very passionate about smoking meat. It's one of my favorite things to do. But okay, let's go back to quality. We've also been told certain foods are quote unquote quality when they're absolutely not quality. So understanding how to tell the difference between quality and not quality is key. Monk fruit is low carb. It's a low carb sugar. Tell me how that works. Who gives a shit because it messes with the pancreas? Okay, all these faux sugars like stevia and monk fruit, they're natural. They're made in nature. Well, what happens is when we actually use these foods, these low carb sugars, low carb sweeteners, whatever you want to refer to them as, it confuses the pancreas, it confuses the liver, it sends mixed messages, it confuses the blood sugar and other endocrine hormones, because your taste buds, when they taste the sweet flavor, it's going to automatically start the digestive process. Hey, release this amino acid, release this digestive enzyme, because here's the sweet flavor, get ready, you have to break it down. But then you break it down and it gets there and it's like, hey, where's the sweet? It's confusing. It's a mind fuck to your endocrine system, your blood sugar, your pancreas, your liver. But people eat these low carb sweeteners because they're low carb. Let's look deeper. Okay, I'm all about looking deeper. Not all sweet things are bad. That's number one. That's also something we've been trained into, not even by our government, so to speak, they don't give a crap. They want us to eat sweet things. But, you know, people in the healing world, it's got sugar and it's bad. I couldn't do that. I really couldn't, right? But also, not all low carb things are good. Not all sweet things are bad. Not all low carb things are good. We have to understand the quality of our foods before just adding them in because of their so-called, you know, claims to health fame, right? We need to be able to understand how they really act in the body. And just focusing on some slogan like low carb or paleo or carnivore is limiting and can even have the opposite effect than what we're actually trying to achieve. If you're somebody who's trying to heal with food, or maybe you're a holistic health practitioner or an aspiring one, and you help people heal with food, these are things to take into consideration because they're going to benefit you and your clients, and they're going to get healthier faster just by knowing some of these basic things. You know, another example is understanding the difference between grass-fed and grain-finished, and then grain-fed beef. A lot of people will go carnivore or start adding meat into their diet and not know the difference here and get all their meat at Costco. You know, not that you know, I'm not going to go there. But, you know, this can make all the difference, understanding the difference between these things. Grass-fed, grain-finished, grain-fed, the whole, you know, way, can make all the difference to understand the differences here from a quality standpoint, from a health and healing standpoint. All right, number 4, let's talk about mineral content. Okay. Now, I don't know if you've been hearing this, but I know I've been hearing this ad nauseum, that how deficient everyone is in minerals, and they are. But this message is jammed down our throat. However, I don't like the solutions that people are offering around this problem. The answer to this isn't adding trace minerals to your water. Nope. Okay? But so many people do this, and this actually can have side effects. Literally yesterday, I had somebody say, Heather, I started trace minerals and I got acid reflux. I was like, yep, take out the trace minerals. 4 days later, oh, no more acid reflux. We have to understand how to get minerals into our diet that our body can actually utilize and benefit from. That's not by adding a shit heap of minerals to your water. I know it sounds like, hey, it sounds logical. But from what I've observed and personally experienced, it doesn't work. Now, how do you do this? Well, personally, how I do this and how I teach people to do this is by adding a diverse array of sea salts into your diet. Actual sea salts from the sea, okay? It can also be obtained by cooking foods in ways that preserve the minerals. For example, if you don't add heaps of salt, I'm talking heaps, I'm talking a decent amount of salt to your pot that's boiling veggies, the nutrients in your veggies will actually leak into the pot, into the water in the pot. And then when you go to strain the veggies, all the nutrients go bye-bye down the drain. Understanding some basic cooking concepts like this can literally change someone's health in positive ways. Oh, I didn't know I should add, you know, this amount of salt to my cooking water to help keep the nutrients intact, right? And then you eat them and you get more nutrients. So, you know, a lot of people, they often think that they're doing all the right things with their diet, and not that I don't make mistakes, or you know, it's just part of life. But we tend to have this belief that we're doing all the right things with the diet, especially people who are on hardcore diets. But when we look into it with a fine-tooth comb, we often see there's a lot of energy leaks and room for improvement, and this can be a game changer. Just gonna say it. Okay, last. Number 5, flavor. So this one, really piggybacks on the food diversity point that I talked about in point number 2. But let's talk about this because people are under the misconception that a healing diet means you have to plug your nose and swallow to get the food down. Absolute lies. Okay, not everyone thinks that, but a lot of people do. Like, oh my God, this, yeah. Okay, in fact, the opposite is true. Food that is flavorful, excuse me, is more healing. If you have to choke down your food, for one, it's not going to be sustainable. You're going to go off the diet in a day or 2 days, really quick and fast. You're going to be done with that. Back to your old habits. And all those taste buds that we talked about fail to get fed, resulting in long-term health effects. So just like we have to work our muscles, we have to work our taste buds. This is a huge part of health and gets zero attention. Why do I hate liver? I can, a good liver pate, oh, I can smash it, right? For the most part, I can't like go to the pan and fry up some liver. Some people can. Those taste buds, nope, never got worked in me as a kid. How often did I have liver? 0. Never had liver one time. Never once. Never once. Okay. Now I'm retraining. I have to retrain my taste buds. Honestly, I'm like, oh my God, did some of those go extinct for organ meats? Because Jesus, I can't, it's really hard for me. But we have to work our taste buds. We have to work them like we would work our muscles by going for a walk or going to exercise, going hiking. This is, this is a huge part of health that gets zero attention, and it needs attention. If you're someone who works with clients and and you teach them about food and how to heal with food, one of the most healing things we can do for our clients is to teach them how to cook and teach them. If you're like, okay, Heather, what do I do? Go over these 5 things I talked about today and break them down for your clients. Start there. It's a good starting place, right? And you have to make it fun. Cooking has to be fun. It has to be pleasurable. Food has to be fun. Food has to be pleasurable in order to stick with it, but not just to stick with it, in order to get the full healing benefits. If you're like, oh my God, I can't eat this shit anymore. I've eaten this again and the same and the same and the same. We need diversity. We need diversity in our diet, because diversity means we're feeding the 10,000 plus taste buds that we have. We're feeding our gut microbiome. We're supporting this healthy connection between our gut-brain axis, right? We need to teach people how to do this and the importance of it. Okay? This is going to help people and you stick with your food and diet plan. Honestly, I really don't like diet plan, because we just need to understand how to eat healthier. And of course, some people benefit from a diet plan, especially people with a very specific chronic disease state. There are certain approaches to food, like I mentioned here with the raw food stuff for people with cancer. I mean, that can be absolutely incredibly helpful for somebody who has that disease, right? Okay. So now, I will end with that, and I did mention this, right? Food isn't the only aspect of health, right? We need to consider our sunlight environment, and we need to consider a lot of other aspects of food. And we also need to consider our EMF environment, and we need to consider our relationships and our mental emotional state. And are we shut down emotionally? Can we talk about our yeah, of course, there's a whole thing to healing, right? It's a whole huge spectrum. But when it comes to food, we often get very, what's the word? Like, pigeonholed, myopic. It's like this diet, boom. We need to get into the details, though. We need to learn how to cook more. We need to teach our kids how to cook. We need to cook around our kids. We need to cook around children. We need to enjoy our food. We need to see kids in the younger generations watching us enjoy our food, having fun cooking, having fun socializing, making cooking a communal thing, making cooking a fun experience. Not this, oh my God, I have to boil a bone broth for 24 hours. What? I mean, what a drag. Meanwhile, we're like scrolling Instagram, trying to pop into somebody's DMs. It's like, whoa, right? We have to reassess our priorities. Cooking is a life skill. It's a healing skill, and you or somebody in your house or somebody that you hire to help you cook needs to have those skills in order for you to be healthy and to be on a healing path. And I'm super excited to deep dive into these areas of health that are so neglected and underemphasized across the board in diet and holistic healthcare practices in my ancestral health certification course. And again, you can head over to my site and pre-register for the course, heatharshepard.com. Go to the ancestral health certification tab. See you next week.